Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We're playing against the Turkish Alliance, Nepenthe. It's a tech hub. Guess what? Next is Rush War. I know a lot of people like it, but in all honesty, I love Rush War. It's one of my favorite types of war, and I always do good at it. Because I have pretty good Rush War teams. It's not the best. I mean, I could do better, but I always do good in Rush War. I mean, you just have to pick a smart team or build smart team. You don't have to have the strongest teams around. I'm curious though to see how I'm gonna do this time because of the new troops, and especially if you put it on Ludwig and whatnot, you're probably gonna have to get some mana control and whatnot. And I have mana control in my teams anyway, so you can't just go in hoping that damage is gonna kill everyone because now with the new troops and whatnot, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to have those, three heroes that can kill an entire team. I mean, it's just going to be very difficult to do so. But unless you have all the new troops and whatnot, because as I said before, I mean, those troops can get to 11% mana, so that's enough in Rush War, and you can use those troops only in Rush War, or if you have a very fast hero. But anyway. I saw this video of a Gen Zer on TikTok, and it was basically talking about this video went viral. And she was talking about how people, and this has been, this is something that every generation says, where everyone older says, the younger generation are not as good as us, and we're better than them, and all of that crap. But anyway, she was saying how boomers have been calling her lazy and all of that, and that old generation is calling Gen Zers lazy and entitled and all of that, just because they're not working enough or whatever. And for what she said, there was some truth to it, where she was saying that people didn't have the same opportunity as they did back in that generation. The other thing she was saying is, people used to be able to support a household on one income. The man would go to a factory or whatever and work, and that would have been enough to provide for a whole household by themselves. And nowadays, it's just next to impossible to do that. Like, most people cannot support a household on one income. It's just the reality of things. But as I said, I mean, I agree with her on some extent, but the reality is every generation, had opportunities, and every generation had some difficulties. If you think about millennials, everyone can get into that, victim mentality. Like, I'm a millennial, and we've lived through some bad times with the tech bubble and the housing market crash, and that was really bad because if you're a millennial, you probably started working around the housing market crash or whatever. I've actually at that time I just gone to college, and I remember like it was tough. It wasn't easy, and I'm sure a lot of people have lived through tough times. And remember at that time I was seeing reports of how people trying to get into the market, and with the recent crash and whatnot, people were not hiring. So it was a difficult time for sure. So everyone in every generation have lived through tough times. It's not the people just picture all through their rosy glasses and whatnot, that you've had all the opportunities and we didn't have anything. That's not true. I mean, life might have been a little bit easier, but there are opportunities everywhere. The thing is, with the generation of technology now, there are a lot of people that are getting rich online. Like, you used to have to actually get up and go to work or go be a salesman, go knock on doors, talk to people, whatever. Nowadays, like, you can get rich just staying at home. Like, people working from home, like people doing their own businesses from home. People, um, you know, putting up um, YouTube channels, or using their social media in general, like not just YouTube, all of social media to build up an audience, and from that they start selling their brand or whatever. Like, there are opportunities for people to supplement their income in different ways, but one thing I'm not gonna argue is we've become a you know, became engulfed with this consumerism mindset, and make money, um, you know, focus on your work, focus on getting as much money as you want as you can, and all of that. Like, life has become so empty, and it's all about consumerism and what you can buy, and that's how you prove your worth. And this has been true for the longest time, but now it's been even more, and it just turned a lot of people into selfish people. And I get it. I mean, I'm not denying that I'm chasing money, or it's not like I'm not to say chasing money, but everyone wants money. Everyone wants security, but it's just not the end all be all. And you know, I used to be younger, growing up younger, you change over time. Your point of view about money and life and all of that changes over time. And I used to be the kind of guy who wanted money, who wanted to get as much money as I can, whatever. And don't get me wrong, like, I still like to have money. It's not that I don't. But, I'm seeing people who have that mentality of, like, work hard, don't enjoy life, go work 24/7, and then you can enjoy life in your 40s or 50s or whatever. And all I keep thinking is, like, is that really the point of life? Like, is that what you want to do? Like, just work 24/7 and then start enjoying life when your health is declining, or when you pass your life and opportunities. Like, the thing that people don't realize is that at every stage of your life you get to do stuff that you're not going to enjoy later on in life. It just reminds me of this saying that I've seen a long time ago. I don't know who said it, but it's so true. It basically goes along the lines of, when you're young, you're healthy and you have time, but you don't have money. And then when you're middle-aged, you have money, you have your health, but you don't have time. Then when you're old, you have time and money, but you don't have your health. And that is so true. And just goes to say that, there are things that you're going to enjoy doing while you're young and you can't do when you get old. And the other way around, like, things you can do when you're old and just doesn't look good when you're, to do it, or you can't even do it now that you're old. But, all that goes to say that you gotta have that balance of working and having fun, because you only get to live once. I mean, just slaving away your whole life, working and working and working just to start enjoying life. That's the mentality that we've become. Start enjoying life when you retire. It's just, I don't think it's a healthy way of thinking. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm selfish, but definitely that's not how I do it. Now, I'm not saying be lazy, don't work, don't do anything in your life, just enjoy the moment and whatnot. I mean, you gotta have ambitions and whatnot, but you gotta also have that balance. And I'll tell you guys a couple of personal stories to people in my life. And the first one is one of my relatives. He used to be a really successful person. He worked a lot, and he was a CEO, and he earned a lot of money. Like his family, him and his family used to travel like first class everywhere, multiple times a year. Like they were filthy rich. And through a few bad investment and him quitting his job to focus on his business, he ended up in debt. And their life just turned around, and they're now the opposite. They're barely getting by. Like their life just shifted, and they're just living, scraping by month to month. Like they never recovered. And I understand this could happen at any moment, especially life is not a guarantee. And this is an example of saying, you got to work hard, but you have to be balanced too. But then comes in the other end of the story, which is another friend of my father. He's a very dedicated guy. Had his family, who was working all the time, and all he kept focusing on is work. And he became rich eventually, but he never traveled. He never did anything. Like he just was working 24/7. And all he kept focusing on is like, I'm going to start enjoying life when I have enough money, and when I retire or close to retirement, that's when I'm going to, start focusing on whatnot. And that day never came by, like he turned in his 60s or early 60s and then got into an accident. He died, and he never got to enjoy his life. I mean, maybe that was his enjoyment, but he just became so consumed with all the materialistic thing, or at least collecting money. I mean, you get addicted to it once you start making money and whatnot. And eventually, his family enjoyed it, and that's fine. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I want to enjoy life too. So all that's to say is just have that balance. I mean, if you just keep comparing yourself to others, especially now with social media, I mean, just it turned people into selfish people, and it just made people unhappy just because how they compare themselves to everyone. Because you see in social media a few people making millions and whatnot, and you become depressed and think that everyone's like this because you saw those few people that constitute like, the 1% or less than 1% that actually made it. But underneath, you don't see the hundreds of thousands or millions of people who didn't make it. Even those that quote unquote made it, a lot of them turn out to be fakes. Like it's just they, following the mantra of fake it until you make it. Like a lot of people start out like that, deluding people that they made it, and then, getting traction, and then they selling their brand, and then that's how they make it. That's actually a business model of people doing it. But anyway, I mean, it's just sad. So that's my message of the day. As you can see, I had a pretty good war, and we got 6 for 6, which is pretty nice. Now I don't know if we're gonna win this or not because the war didn't end yet, but we're doing good. It's gonna be pretty close. Hopefully we can win. I have 19 flags, so we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.